Welcome back to the BlacVolta podcast. The snippet you just heard is from Ara the J. He just released a new EP called Finding Nemo, and it's amazing. It's called No Gentility, so you guys should check it out. It's out on all platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube. He's an amazing artist.
He really is.
Anyway, that's not the topic of discussion today. Today we are here with an amazing Ghanaian lady who is one of BlacVolta's favorites. We don't like to tell people that she's one of our favorites, but
Wow.
she's one of our favorites. She's going to speak to us today about the creator economy. I know it's a topic which is very sensitive and which is very big on everyone's dashboard. So it's something that we are going to talk about today. But we have the talented and beautiful Therese Ohemaa, who is the co-founder of Jambo Spaces. She wears a lot of hats, but let's just limit it to the ones we know, which is the co-founder of Jambo Spaces. She's also a member of the Forbes community, and she's very, very active in the creator space in Africa. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I know we've always met and we've had small conversations.
We've had mini
there.
podcasts. We've
Yeah.
had mini podcast episodes, but it's good that we are jumping on the actual podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I want you to tell the people about yourself, like who you are, and I don't want the ones on the internet. I don't want anything which is on the internet. I want things like, this is where I went to school, this is the guy who broke my heart, type of thing. You understand?
I don't get
but
my
just
heart,
give us
I don't get my
give
heart
us
broken.
let us know who you are.
Okay. So as you mentioned, my name is Therese, but I really go by Ohemaa. Where do I start? I was born and raised in New York and Connecticut mostly. I grew up with two Ghanaian parents who are from very different backgrounds. My mom comes from a very eccentric family, and my dad maybe comes from his own version of I feel like it's a more humble family.
But they're both Ghanaian, right?
They're both Ghanaian, yeah. Okay. They were born and raised they were raised in Kumasi. Please don't ask me which side, but I do know my dad is from Bonre.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. A little bit about me. So I actually was in the medical field in the U.S., but it was because, unfortunately, when you're working with, when you're working and your Ghanaian parent really wants you to be in certain fields, I'm sure the top three, whether you're a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer, I didn't fit any of those molds. I was a bit rebellious. I'm the oldest of five, but they see me as a stubborn one. And then about 5 years ago, I one day told them 3 days before my flight that I'm moving to Ghana.
No, so wait. You told them 3 days before your flight.
Yeah.
As in you had bought the flight without them knowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had figured it, and I'm moving to Ghana. And I remember my dad looked at me, and he was just tired at that point. I think he was just exhausted. So he was just like, okay, it's fine. And he dropped me off at the airport, and the rest has been history. I've been working with Maista, Clay. I've been working with them behind the scenes.
Did you know them before? Okay, so wait.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack.
Yeah.
So you were in the medical field. You were being rebellious about it, and you decided to come to Ghana.
Yeah.
With a plan or without a plan? Or?
No plan. I just had a feeling, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I had a gut feeling that I wasn't happy with the things that I was doing in the US. I just wasn't happy, and I couldn't figure it out. And one of the things that kept coming to my mind when my parents would ask me, okay, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to go into this field, what do you want to do?
Okay.
And I didn't have an answer. So what I was doing was little things. I was interning here, working here for free, meeting people and networking in the space, and that's how I even met a few creators like in the US and just seeing what they were doing. And at the time, social media was so brand new, but I started to fall in love with marketing, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And then one day a friend of mine was like, she's coming to Ghana. And I didn't even have a passport. In America, it's pretty common for people to not have passports, to be honest. So I didn't have a passport. And she was like, as long as you get your passport, then you can come with me. And so I did. And on that trip, I still didn't know what I was doing. But it made me feel like I could do something. Like I wanted to make some changes. But I didn't want to do it like the cliche way. I didn't want to come and do like a nonprofit. And I wanted people to make money.
Okay.
And so that's been my focus is if I'm going to work with people, how do we both make money? Because money is important. Money makes you look nice. Like money's nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So then how did you meet, did you know, like, so then you so then you met Meister and Clay. Did you know them before?
No, I didn't. Funny enough, I was meeting a bunch of people. I had even met, I don't know if you know Kofi Pepera.
Yeah.
Like I had met, like I was just hearing about people in town and what everyone was doing. And I just wanted to get to know like how people are working with creatives in Ghana. So a friend of mine was like, oh, there's this guy who manages Easy, but he also works he'd worked at Vodafone. He'd done a number of other stuff. So I think I DM'd him on Twitter. And at first he wasn't really minding me, which was fine. He wasn't really minding me, but I wanted to know where they shot the video for Skin Tights.
Okay. And
so he connected me to somebody at Zena Lodge. And then from then on, I just kept in touch and let him know, oh, hey, I'm coming back to Ghana, da-da-da. When I met him, I started like shadowing him with like a few things when him and Easy, I think at the time they did a small show at La Palme.
Okay.
And I was just like, okay, this looks really cool. Like, this is something I could do. On the side as well, I was building drag and drop websites for businesses in Accra. Okay. Because I was annoyed that sometimes I would Google a business that I wanted, and then they didn't have a website. And some of the complaints they were telling me was, oh, it's really expensive to hire a developer.
To do a website. So you're doing it for them, like you're just doing it for them, right?
Because in America, it's not expensive.
Okay.
You pay a monthly fee or you can pay a yearly fee and you have a website that you can edit. You don't need a third party. And that's when I started to recognize that it wasn't that Ghana didn't have the tools, they didn't know it was available. And so I was like, gosh, like how can I solve this problem outside of the website thing? And then Meister, at the time, he was doing agency stuff. He would collaborate with Echo House and other people. And then I kept thinking, like, why doesn't he just do it, like, himself?
On his own, yeah.
He said no. He doesn't have time for that. So for, like, a while, he just kind of was brushing it off. He's like, no, I'm not interested in doing agency stuff on my own. He liked working for the companies that he would work with. He introduced me to Clay as well. Clay came to visit. And I think they were planning something for Easy. So they were all part of Easy's team. And then, there was a conversation about the first Dirty Rape they did. I think it was in Prom Prom or something. And I'd seen the commercials and stuff. And I thought it was so cool that one person's planning all these things. And I was like, gosh, like, I would want to do something like this. So he always told me, hey, if you need anything, I would support you. But he wasn't ready to
branch out on his own.
Yeah, at that time. So yeah, that's how I met him and Clay. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's what gave birth to Jambo Spaces, right?
It did.
Or what was the inspiration behind Jambo Spaces?
So what it actually gave birth to was an agency called Brandmeister.
Okay.
So Brandmeister,
So you're part of Brandmeister?
Yes, I am a part of Brandmeister.
Okay.
And how I became a part of Brandmeister was Meister got married to his wife, Kiki. And I guess they had a conversation and he was like, you know what, before he gets ready to go to school, he wants to try and see what it would be like to do an agency, like fully. And me, I was ready for when he was going to say yes to me. So as soon as he sent that, I sent him a link to a website I had already designed.
You had already designed the website?
I had already designed the website. And he was like, who did this? I was like, I did. And he didn't believe it. He thought I was like joking. But then it was the first time that we actually learned how to work together. So essentially he started teaching me about fonts, branding. That's what he started teaching me. Like, even if I'm going to do these websites, I need to actually have a brand in mind. So we spoke about colors, fonts, and stuff. And yeah, I designed the first Brandmeister website.
Okay.
Only because he wanted to call up his web developer friends that he had. And I was like, no, that'll take too long. Can't we just do this now? And I didn't want him to change his mind. So I'm like, here's the website. Bloom Bar was our official first client.
Okay, so Bloomberg was your first client.
Yeah.
You guys were the ones managing their what?
Their brand.
The whole entire brand.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was in 2018.
I see. So Bloomberg started in 2017.
Yeah, like that December before, yes.
And then, so in 2018, you and the Brandmeister were responsible for the whole marketing PR for Bloomberg.
Yes.
No wonder. Okay.
So what we did was what happened is we were starting to work on having established clients. But one of the things we wanted to stand out was to work with a client that we can grow with. And I had a conversation with Keith at the time, and I remember he was moving down from New York to Ghana, and we were just talking, and he was telling me about his visions and the bars that he had managed when he was in New York, and I was speaking to him about the campaigns that I wanted to be a part of and things like that. And so we just set forth to be like, you know what, we're just going to make sure that no matter what we do all together, which was the Bloom Bar team and us, that we were going to grow.
We're going to grow together.
Okay. And that's exactly like what it was for us. It was like trying out new things, tweeting a certain way. Back then, clubs and nightlife stuff only focused on flyers with girls with big boobs or their ass showing. I don't know if I can curse, but their ass showing and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can.
And I was like, no, I hated that. I felt like it was so cliche.
Yeah.
It was so annoying. And so, yeah, like what I really appreciated about Kofi and Keith or Adam, some of you guys know him, is that they really listened to our ideas, and they had ideas as well, and they allowed us to like collaborate together. Okay. I think my favorite was during the pandemic, the live stream.
The live streaming.
Yeah, like.
So how long was that relationship? Like, how long were you guys managing that portfolio for?
Up until the pandemic. I think like it was up until the pandemic, and then we came back just for that 12 days of December. So it was like the last hour and all that other stuff. So yeah, and that was mostly because of the way both of our businesses started going into different needs. And so what we did was we just helped the transition advise who they would have handle visuals and stuff like that. Because by then Bloom had a standard. There was already a blueprint that they were going by. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm excited about their launch in Atlanta coming up. Yeah.
Great stuff. Okay, so how about Jambo Spaces?
Yes, okay, so after the pandemic, I don't know if you guys remember Ripple. We wanted to create an influencer marketing platform that allowed people to rate like their level of influence. I'm trying to be careful with how I speak about Ripple. Ripple was a concept that saved us during the pandemic.
Okay.
When campaigns had all shut down, we were one of the only people that were managing influencers. Okay. No one knew because we were actually working behind the scenes of other agencies.
Okay, so you were managing influencers.
Managing them in the sense that if you wanted influencers on a campaign, we just knew where to get them and place them. We weren't directly working with influencers. Okay. And it was going well, but I do feel like some of it, greed kind of came into it with other organizations.
When was this?
This was in 2020.
And this was, I feel like this was also when this whole influencer thing started, right?
Yes.
Or at that time, was it called influencers? Were they called influencers?
Okay, so I'm going to give some background. In 2018, when the FDA announced their ban. Okay. It was 2019 when they actually started to enforce it. Okay. From my memory, I could be wrong, but I know in 2019, and it was right before we did Jameson Connects. And at the time, a lot of people were instead choosing to use big celebrities to announce alcohol campaigns. When that ban came, what we did was push in creators. Okay. Like at the time, I'm trying to remember. I know we had pushed Zuby for that campaign.
Okay, Zubeida. Okay, your
Yes.
name has been mentioned here.
We had pushed like Dakwa and some other ones, and it was the first time that we were actually telling creators how to create the content so it looked organic.
Okay.
And it was the first time that we actually noticed people were creating content, not realizing they were being influenced. So we created a campaign that I feel like was one of like the best campaigns that I've worked on, which was grab a bottle, grab a friend. These are the things that happen. And then we made it look like the brand noticed these creators creating content and sent out packages. So that 2019 period was the time where a lot of influencers were getting their first big gigs. Because again, they couldn't use celebrities. When the pandemic happened, celebrities really like were also losing opportunities because shows were shutting down. I don't even know, but we were also behind the Malta campaign during that time. So I don't know I know people saw like Sakodia drinking malt, Sister Debbie, but yeah, Delay, all those other people, they were drinking malt a lot. There was even some of our smaller creators went viral because I think one person was drinking malt while she was typing on her computer. And people were either upset or confused as to why would you be doing that? Because again, at the time, they didn't realize it was a campaign.
Did you realize it was a campaign?
Yeah, it looked like, why are people just all of a sudden so obsessed with malts? And then eventually, like we were doing those
campaigns.
And we decided to go into tech because that's what everyone tells you to do.
Yeah.
They say, find a way to make your creative journey a tech journey.
Yeah.
I disagree, but I'll come to that like later. So they were like, build a tech product. And so we tried. We was working with a CTO who, unfortunately, I'm very upset about that experience. And we built an influencer calculator, which allowed you to put in your Instagram handle, and it told people how much you were worth as a creator. And that was based off of an algorithm that we had created.
That you had created on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what happened was Instagram tried to shut it down because we were scraping information from their platform. Same with Twitter. Twitter was a little bit easier because they, at that time, was like more of an open source. Like you can tap in a lot easier. And it was going well until we started realizing that there were people trying to create the same platform. To the point where it now changed even the partners that we've always been working with, like how they were working with us and stuff like that. So and it's not that I don't like competition. I just come from, I think, a country where if you feel like something is oversaturated and you can no longer provide anything different than someone else, you need to go back and revert to like the new plan. I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of change. I just know that I need to do better than what I've done myself. And so when we saw people doing the same tech platforms and things like that, we also didn't fully understand the technical side. We're marketers. We know how to tell a story. We know how to make things go as far as they need to go. But to
be over and beyond that, you don't know how to handle that.
Yeah, like I don't understand anything about code or anything like that fully. And it was something that's like, I was like, no, I don't like running a business where there's something that I don't understand. And it gave our CTO at the time so much control that when he was doing other things outside of what we needed him to do, we didn't know. Because he would show us something like, oh, look, this is done, this is done. And I think it says a lot about business that if you're going to build something and you're already building what you know, don't fully try to go into something else just because everyone
is doing it.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone says go into tech,
then you jump in and then go into tech when your original plan wasn't even to go into tech.
Exactly. And so
that's how Jambo.
So after that, we're like, you know what is it that we're really trying to do?
Exactly.
Brandmeister, we used to have creatives come into our space in our office and use the office for different things, whatever ideas. And I said, imagine if we really had a space like this, but it was dedicated to seeing if we can be the affordable way for people to enter the creative industry. And so, that's what kind of started Jambo. So we eventually built Jambo to be three things: to offer space, education, and resources for African creators to turn their creativity into currency. And that's like what our main focus has been, which is, do you have the knowledge to prepare for your artwork to go global? Like, do you have what it's necessary? Are you registered?
Yeah.
Do you have the equipment? Do you have access to like the right people for distribution? Everything a business would need as a creative, we want to be that. And I was actually also inspired by tech hubs. I had read about the story of what Andela had done for African, software developers, and the same thing for YC for African tech startups. And I said, but where is that for the creative industry? And I couldn't pinpoint
any.
I found people who did music, and they did that specifically for music, film,
fashion.
Yes, but I never found one that said, even if you don't know where you stand, this is the place for you. This is where we develop your skills and your talent, and that's what we wanted to be in that space. So
okay,
yeah.
So that's how Jambo.
That's how Jambo.
Lovely,
it means hello.
Lovely. So it looks like from the discussion up until this point, you've been very passionate about creatives.
Yeah.
Right from the jump, we understand. So what do you think about the creative economy in Africa? Like, from let's take it back. Right now, statistics has it that I think we're almost like 500 billion when it comes to market cap in terms of the creator economy.
Yeah.
Africa is almost like less than 3% of that market cap, and you coming from wherever you're coming from to Ghana to come and go like, okay, you know what?
This can change.
Yes. What do you think about the creator economy in Africa?
I think, so I've been living in Ghana for 5 years, and I think for me, it's very unfortunate that the amount of talent that we have on the continent isn't able to monetize at the scale that it deserves. People are making money, but they don't realize the money that they're not able to make just because of what they don't know. And what I've identified is a few things, right? Which is there's no formal legal protections that are available to creatives. There's a financial part of it that's an issue, which is payment terminals. As much as there's so many fintechs being built, none of them fully addresses creatives fully. I mean, Paystack and Flutterwave have really tried their best, but essentially there's always still a cap based on the African country and how to even receive international funds, how to even send funds as well is an issue. And when you're looking at all of these things, people would think, okay, is it that there's not enough creatives here, or is it hard to even pay them? Is it hard to sign contracts with them? Is it hard to get them to confirm they own their artwork? In the US, to get a copyright for anything you do is so simple. Some of it is even as simple as going to your local post office. What is that for Ghana? When I ask recently, we're working on a copyright workshop coming up, and I ask people, do you know where the copyright office is? Most of them do not know that Ghana has a copyright office. And when you go on the World Intellectual Property website, it explains that one of the challenges that's affecting the creator economy is that everyone is working in silos on the continent. So even if we're all trying to work together, we're not. Some of us are working in one corner, some of us are doing this. And so, yeah, like it's unfortunate because I personally feel like creatives are the way that Africa will get out of its despair. I do think that creatives will save the world.
You actually believe
I know they can. And the reason why is there's examples. And my favorite example is the Asian financial crisis during the 1990s. South Korea was going through a really bad financial crisis. And they figured the creator economy was what was going to take them out of it. Now, K-pop and K-drama are one of their biggest exports.
Even up till now.
Up till now, and it's because they invested in hubs like ours.
So there was a financial crisis in South Korea.
Yeah.
And
they call it the Asian financial crisis.
And then they used creatives to
boost the economy. So
what
what they did was they created a budget to start investing in IP protection, to start investing in knowledge and like how to use certain things. They started investing in people teaching dance, song, film, history, culture. And what they recognized was they were exporting film, stories, music that was developing like money that comes back into their economy.
Okay.
And when you have a global system for something already that already says this is how money is produced and you are able to tap into it properly, you're able to collect on those funds. One of the biggest issues currently right now is, I mean, people don't even know where their streaming royalties come from. When they see American artists talking about, we don't make money from streams and stuff like that, that's not the same problem that they're having here. And sometimes artists here will be like, yeah, but I heard
streaming
Taylor
really
Swift say that streaming doesn't really pay. No, it pays them, but they want more. It's not paying you because you didn't even
you don't even know where your streams are going.
You don't know your numbers.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're
So
even.
is it generally, would you say the problem on the continent isn't really I mean, you mentioned monetization.
Yeah.
Is it just that we like? Is there knowledge gap? Like we don't have access. Is it that we don't have access to information, or the information is there that we are not seeking, or is it that we are just not? Is there a lack of access to information that is keeping us where we are right now?
It is, but it's also the lack of infrastructure.
Okay.
Because as I mentioned, if you ask a lot of artists who started on DistroKid, some will tell you that I've had trouble taking money out of DistroKid because it's an American platform. They're asking for certain details that I don't have. I need an identification.
Yeah.
If I don't have a passport, they're not going to take your Ghana card. Yeah. They're not going to take a voter's ID.
Even with Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Even with Twitter, right? The monetization is if you don't have an account, you cannot monetize if you don't have an account or Stripe or something like that. I mean, you are very you talk about Stripe.
I love Stripe. I love Stripe. I love what they're trying to do. I mean, they're the ones that bought Paystack, so I love what they're trying to do on the continent. But yeah, like, and I do think that it's a conversation that we need to have with Bank of Ghana, because of my interest in creatives, I actually dabbled in fintech briefly because I wanted to understand what was going on. Why is it so difficult for people to move money from, the US, the UK into Ghana or vice versa? Yeah. Right? Like, why is it so hard for money to circulate when the money is right there?
Right there.
Because when we talk about the different levels of the ways to collect funds, I feel like currently the only platform that makes it somewhat easy is YouTube, but there's still some challenges. You still have to prove your identity. You still have to make sure that you set up your account in a certain way in order to collect on the money that they're sending to you from ad revenue. And yeah, I think that as much as it's a knowledge gap,
the infrastructure
too. And that's why I mentioned the tech industry so much, because a lot of your favorite tech bros have figured it out. They freelance. But there's a disconnect, because why would someone, like, if you and you work in tech, I'm a creative, and you and I have dinner, lunch every day, we're friends, and I'm telling you my issues, you probably won't think I have the same issue because somebody taught you. Yeah. One of your fellow tech bros said, oh, I worked for Microsoft and they sent it this way. Okay. And I was able to negotiate this way. There's no one in the creative industry talking to creatives
and giving them that kind
of saying, hey, if you can't do it this way, don't worry, maybe you can register a company in the US. And that would allow you to open a US bank account, and you can make transfers from that US bank account to your Ghana bank account. Who's going to tell creatives that? And some of the ways to register your business is actually pretty affordable. Anywhere from, well, okay, so affordable is relative, but anywhere from $300 to $500.
You can register a business outside. And
exactly.
And then be collecting revenue.
And putting it into a US bank account, and then figuring out ways to just transfer that into your bank account in Ghana or whatever African country you're in.
How often do you speak to, what kind of things you hear from them? How's it been so far with especially Ghana? You do work with creators outside of Ghana also?
I do, yeah. But so I'm currently an artist manager. I do manage Molly.
Okay.
So please check her out. But yeah, I do manage Molly, which has been a really dope experience. But then alongside of that, we recently signed three or four creators because we'd like to actually collect the data to show creators the way to go from locally being able to collect funds from small businesses to interacting with global brands. And so the idea isn't that we want to go into management. It's so that we have that data to now provide to creators on an open scale.
Okay.
What we've recognized at Jambo is we have people that come with so many little problems. You know, somebody say, I don't have PayPal. Somebody wants to pay me in PayPal and they'll cancel this campaign if I don't have PayPal.
I think that's a really big issue.
Because PayPal is a universal payment platform for outside the world, and they're not sensitive to the issues here. In addition to that, I'll have somebody that says, they want to invite me to Fashion Week. I don't have a visa. And I've told them
I have a passport.
I don't have a passport. I've told them I don't have a visa, and they don't understand my problem. Like, there are companies in the U.S. who don't understand. Like, they feel like, I'm inviting you, just show up. And they don't understand that Africans are limited by their passport. We're not allowing them into other countries. And so when you're hearing all these things, I start to think, what exactly is it that Jambo Spaces can solve? It's speaking to the embassies and talking about policies. I think the most supportive embassies we've been working with so far has been the French embassy.
I think the French embassy has is really championing this whole creative.
They see the value for sure. They see the value and they understand it. It's and we're so grateful because it couldn't have been perfect timing for when Jambo is like out there now. We're also speaking with the British embassy and then the US one as well. And most of it is speaking about creatives because they want to partner with creatives, but then a lot of them don't have a registered business. They don't have a bank account with an active, like if you ask a videographer how he's being paid in the last maybe 5 years, Momo here, maybe 1 or 2 bank account transfers, maybe some cash here.
Maybe some tabletop over here.
But the problem with that is it means that you're not running a business. And even if somebody has seen your talent and they want to use you, you lack structure. And so it's one of the main things that we are looking to bring into like the industry, which is structure.
That gives you guys does it look like a huge opportunity for you guys?
It does. It does. We are focused. When people see us, right, they think, we've heard like, you guys are a co-working space, or you're a creator space, or you guys just rent like the rooms, and they don't realize that our real value is in working with creatives to make sure that they're profitable, that they're actual profitable businesses. In December, we partnered with Afrofuture, and there was a deal room for a really like big, like a Frexham bank. And one of the things that kept coming up was we picked creative businesses, right? But we noticed this is exactly the issue. Even if people want to invest in creative businesses, we're not ready for that level of investment.
Because sometimes the investment is just not giving you money. I mean, the investors also have, investors also run on things like compliance and risk, and people who are giving you money are not just going to give you money
because you're creative.
Just because you have 2 billion followers on Instagram, right? Or you have a billion views on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? It's people's money, so they need to.
They want to see how they'll get it back.
Exactly.
And I think creatives, and this is even around the world, creatives have thrived on grants and free. Okay, it's not really free money, but money that's supposed to prove a point. They don't even know how to collect data on the money they've used. They don't know how to collect data on how they've gotten by. If I ask any creative right now who maybe just does like basic creative work, and I say, okay, how much money have you made in the past 2 years? Those are numbers regular businesses would know. A lot of them would be like, well, I need to go and like sit down, and they're not tracking their creativity as a business. And they get frustrated. You'll see a lot of them come online and say, no one supports creatives, no one does this. And I understand them because it does feel that way. But it's time that somebody steps in and teaches them how to have these conversations, like how to make sure that even if you get money, how are you proving how that money is being used? Where's the long-term value? Partnerships is a really interesting thing. Ever since we opened, we're still trying to navigate what partnerships look like. But for us, we've also recognized that trying to partner with other organizations, they're a bit like suspicious, right? They're like hesitant because creative industry has always been about grab what you can and run. And I think I saw most of this even when I was working on Global Citizen. It was an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. What did you do for Global Citizen?
I was their marketing manager here in Accra.
Okay.
During that time, I mean, it was always nice to have you actually on board as well. And I loved, honestly, their organization inspired me to want to structure Jambo correctly, because it was so simple as there's one person who handles this. I think even at that time I was like, okay, I handle one thing, but I know the person that you should speak to.
Remember, yeah.
And then I emailed that person, and it was so simple. They would come back to me and follow up like, hey, Joey was great. We invited him to this, and that, and it was perfect. I don't get that same interaction when I try to collaborate here.
Yeah.
Like, you'll meet people that will say, okay, yeah, somebody gave me an opportunity, but I forgot to tell you that it was like this. And they don't realize that feedback is necessary. So that if I vouch for more creatives in the past, I can say, hey, we vouched for Joey, and this is what happened. Yeah. So give us some more opportunities for more people. It's not meant to be a complicated thing, but unfortunately, it's going to take time. Yeah. We can't erase the pain and hurts that creatives have been through. They've been used, taken advantage of, and it's been hard for them because creatives are hustlers. Yeah. They've been working on survival. And when you try to take people out of that mode, they'll meet you with some defense unintentionally. Yeah. And so that's what we're looking to kind of resolve is how do we get rid of that defense? There's a young lady sitting to me on my left. Her name is Mercy. She goes to school. I don't know, is it GIS? JIJ. Okay. And when she came with some friends that wanted to start a podcast, and they recorded their podcast. She was just a guest on their show. But I recognized her. I was just watching her, and then I just pulled her aside. I was just asking her about what she wants to do, and a number of other things. And I pushed her to at least release her first podcast. And the first episode, the sound didn't come out right. And I think she was hesitant to tell me, and I was telling her to release it anyway. Yeah. Because that's business.
That's how it is.
Not everything is going to go perfect, right? Yeah. Even this show, I'm sure if it's not perfect, we would still figure out a way to make it happen. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's another barrier for creatives. When the work doesn't come out the way they want it, they just give up on it. Yeah. And we can't live a better life. We can't tell our stories if we're going to give up and wait for something to be perfect before we release it. And that's why Jambo is not perfect. We're still figuring things out, but we know our main goal is to turn African creatives into businesses. Like, how do we turn their creativity into money? Into business. No more hustling. It's like, how do we figure out the way to make this into money? And that's really that, like, simple.
Amazing stuff. We're speaking here with Therese Ohemaa, who is, I'll call her a creative architect. It's been amazing speaking with you. Anyway, let's dial down to Ghana, right?
Yeah.
As compared to the other African countries, where do you think we sit in terms of the whole creative discussion? Where do you think we speak? Where do you think we sit, right? Let me give you some context with this whole Grammys coming into Africa and Ghana being late to the party, monetization coming into Africa and Ghana being late to the party. And is it just like what are your thoughts about the creator economy in Ghana as compared to the other countries and how they are moving?
I don't know what it is about us in Ghana, but culture really rules how we move.
A lot of things.
And I don't think people admit that publicly, even to foreigners, that
culture is a very, very huge, it's very huge thing when it comes to everything that we do.
Yes, no matter what industry.
It's only when you travel that you realize that.
It's not supposed to be. And I feel like it's the nature of Nigerians, South Africans, and even East Africans that they found a way to merge their culture into what is the global standard. When I go to East Africa and I'm speaking to people, they're telling me their names, they're proud of their language, but at the same time, they recognize certain structures. They're able to identify, okay, this is how a registration happens, this is how you do this. It's very easy. When you go to South Africa, it's the same thing. People are still very culturally inclined, but they are also aware of global standards. They're like, okay, do you have this registration? Do you have this? If you want to work with us, do you have the copyright for this? They're asking the right questions. Nigeria also, one of the biggest hustlers, I think, growing up, even when Nigerians, you've just always seen it. They know how to adapt into every environment. With Ghanaians, we're very much relaxed, comfortable. We also don't want to step on toes. We're stepping on toes, but we don't want to. We don't want the reputation for doing it. And so you'll see somebody say, oh, but, I know this is the way we're supposed to do it, but I don't want to,
I don't want it to be long.
Yeah, they don't want to be complicated. They want everything easily done for them. Oh, but if you know how to do it, then just do it for me. No, I can't. I'm also I'm doing stuff. I'm telling you how to do it so you can go and learn how to do it yourself. But no, I think working for me sometimes is very challenging for some Ghanaians. I've had
sometimes we need those kind of people.
I've had employees really call me later and thank me. Because when they work for me, they'll say something like, oh, I didn't know how to do this. And they'll say, so you don't have Google. You don't know how to figure it out. And also, why are you communicating to me the data I'm asking you? Once they don't know something, they don't also want to say they don't know it. All of these things have been hurting us. It's hurt us in this rise of African music. It's hurting us even in the rise of film, digital creation, a number of other things. When I try to pitch Ghana to people, they state specific examples where they were let down when they tried to enter the industry. The good thing about Ghana is we're also very lovely people. We're very friendly, and people love that, and they want to try for us. But unfortunately, we need to start. It's not enough. We need to start training, and this is why, with the education side of Jambo, we need to start training young people to not be afraid. And be assertive. We do something called Click for Change, where we take students from the law schools, and we give them public speaking. And somebody asks us, why public speaking? I'm like, because people have hard time saying their mind. You'll think, oh, that's my boss, so I don't want to talk back. If you're in America, people are talking back to their boss in a respectful way, but they still know how to say, I don't agree with this direction. I think we should take this direction. In Ghana, your employee will watch you make a mistake and say, well, I didn't know, you can, that you wanted me to tell you this, because they look at me like the boss. When there's things happening, I always tell people, that's the reason why I have you on my team. I assume that you're smart. I don't want to micromanage you. Exactly. You have parents at home. I am not your mom. I don't have children. I'm not looking for you to be my child. And so when you say that to them, sometimes they feel offended. What do you mean by this? I want so much better for Ghana, but we have to find a way to merge and be appreciative of our culture, but not let it prevent us from growing.
And then also making sure that the world doesn't leave us behind.
Yeah, because
doing it.
Listen, if you even ask people what PRO they're signed up to, they don't know. And that's in terms of publishing in the music industry. I know Gamro is dealing with its own issues and things like that, but outside of Gamro, you're allowed to do other PROs that are all online. People don't know. People don't know. And that means there's been viral music that has gone out to the world and no one was collecting on that money. And then you'll sit here and say, hey, your music isn't making you money, even though you went viral. Why? You didn't collect it. And you'll say, but I thought that my distro sends me money. No, your distro sends you your royalties. But when it comes to publishing royalties, that's a different sign up
altogether.
And I've noticed that now some distribution channels are trying to help by saying, okay, we can collect for you. But that means you're also signing away more of your rights.
Of your earnings.
Exactly. When I think back to Sister Deborah, when Uncle Obama went viral, it was one of my first times, like, even seeing a viral thing. Because I remember being in college and that song came out. And I was in America. Like, I didn't know anything about Sister Deborah, what she was doing. But that song came all the way there. And I'm sure it made money. It gave opportunities, a number of different things. And then you think back to, like, how a black sheriff can go viral and what that does to his life. Nigerians go viral almost every year with something. Look at Rema. Rema is now a global superstar. We need to realize that there's an importance to having this paperwork done. There's importance to understanding lawyers and things like that so that we don't get left behind. The Grammys isn't just going to look for music. They're going to look for people who are structured.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know they can register their song to be recognized by the billboards in the US and the UK. They just release music and then they get upset because they're like, I have more numbers than so-and-so.
Or more talented.
I have more talent. But you haven't registered it in the right places. So who's going to recognize that talent? And yeah, I do realize it comes from, again, us just, expecting someone else to come and take care of us.
God.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's actually a lot. So what we're gonna do is, I know you guys are enjoying the conversation, guys. It's what we're gonna do is I think we need to break the conversation into 3 parts.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this one go, and then we're gonna do 2 more episodes.
Dun.
Yeah, you understand? Or else. Okay. Because this conversation, we can go for 4 hours.
It's long. It's a lot. I didn't even get started on, like, how I feel for even, like, the Afrofuture guys and all the work that they're having to do.
No, let's talk about that. I know. I think we should probably end the conversation with that. I want to give a big shout out to the Afrofuture team for what they've we haven't had them on the podcast yet, but
I know there's going to be a big one.
It's going to be crazy. Like, what they've actually done and what they are doing for the Ghanaian creative scene. Yeah. When you deep it down, it's super, super, super crazy. You can't even think about it. And then doing this at the same time in a country where, one, we don't have an airline.
Yeah.
You don't have an airline, or you're throwing a festival in a country and asking people to pay flight tickets, which are already around 1,500, 2,000 USD, and then pay tickets to the festival, and they are bringing almost.
They have to pay for accommodation. They're really feeding the economy, but I think for me, what makes me feel for them too is our industry isn't growing with them. Like,
they're growing faster
than what the industry can provide them. The industry just looks at them as an opportunity for a payday, but they're not seeing the culture that they're actually driving, and how, if we're not careful, let's say Afrofuture decides to choose another country, what is Ghana going to do? And it's not that I'm saying that they've made Ghana in December or anything, but if you really think about it, the amount of people that come, the amount of opportunities, the events, all of that, it's the kind
of job creation that they've both directly and indirectly that they've done on the continent and in Ghana.
But if you look, right, and you ask them, they still don't even have the resources they need to qualify for certain things.
Exactly.
Because even some of their sponsors are looking for, let's say, if they're looking for a videographer, they have certain specs that they want. If they're looking for image rights, all those things, if they're looking to pay people, they have a way those structures are in place. And unfortunately, it comes right back to them. And so it's important for spaces, for creatives and everything to be able to support growing brands like an Afrofuture brand, because eventually it will become so exhausting for them to put their resources into small things that takes away from the brand they're building. Makes and so sense. I definitely commend, like, the guys for everything they continue to do and the work that they're putting in. And they can't put everyone on, but they really do their best to put everyone on. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, as I said, we have Therese Ohemaa, who is a brilliant young lady, creative architect, co-founder Jambo Spaces. member of the Forbes community. See, the list goes on and on. As I mentioned, it's gonna be a 3-part series with her because I know you guys want to listen and listen and listen. But if we continue with this, it will go. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna end with 10 nightlife questions. No, not like nightlife questions, but like questions one-on-one. What ifs?
Okay.
Just to end the conversation, right?
Okay.
Okay. The first one is let's go with it. What's your first one is Ifya or Titi also?
Ifya.
Ifya.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your favorite Ghanaian nightlife spot and why?
Purple Pub.
Why?
It's home to everybody.
Okay.
I like that it allows everyone to be comfortable there. And there's something for everyone at Purple.
Okay. All right. I'll skip this one to the last question.
Hey.
What's your go-to cocktail?
Ooh, a gin basil.
A gin basil.
A gin basil.
Where do you normally get that from?
Pomona. Rehab actually has one too. I'm surprised now that I see it a lot more on menus. But yeah, the gin basil's nice.
Okay.
It's a right balance.
Okay. Who's your favorite creator in Ghana?
Wow. This is crazy. Do I have to answer this one?
Yes.
Wow.
Ghana one and then generally.
Okay, I'm going to say, I don't want to get in trouble.
No, just go for it.
Okay,
this
but
is
honestly,
BlacVolta podcast.
no,
Just
but
go
honestly, I'm only choosing this person just
don't explain yourself, please. Just give us your favorite. Or it's not because the person came for your funeral or your wedding, or please. What's your favorite creator?
I love Alma Berland.
I love her.
I love Alma Berland.
I'm not gonna lie, she's my favorite creator.
She's my favorite creator, and it's only because her temperament, her personality. I feel like I want that. Like I want her personality, and she's friends with everyone. Yeah, I think that's really hard to do.
She's great.
Yeah,
she's great.
yeah.
Okay. If you had $100 million, who would you bet on?
Is it a specific person or
in the creative economy?
Wow. I don't know if it'll be a specific person, but I would bet on the media.
Media.
Yeah.
Media. Huh?
I would invest in the media.
Okay.
Because that's stories.
Storytelling is everything.
Storytelling goes further, and you're able to incorporate other creatives into the storytelling.
Makes sense.
So,
your favorite country?
Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the city life and then the beach life. I love how their hospitality, they've really ingrained hospitality into their industry. Yeah. Also, our name is Jambo, so I'm sure that kind of plays like a role.
If you weren't doing what you were doing, what would you have been doing? If it wasn't for this whole creative, what other thing would you have wanted to be?
I think I would like to be a writer. Okay. I like writing stories and stuff, so I'll probably be a writer, but I'd still be working with creatives somehow. Okay.
Yeah. Last 2 questions. What Ghanaian dish should be cancelled forever?
What should be cancelled forever?
Yeah.
Kinky. I'm sorry.
Kinky should be cancelled forever.
I'm sorry. I don't like the texture. I don't know. The other day I tried to taste it again. I was like, no.
Okay, and then the last question as we end. Single, are you complicated, or are you married, or it's the BlacVolta podcast?
No,
so
I'm single.
Okay.
No complications in my life ever.
Okay.
And yeah, but I am looking forward to life.
Okay. Anyway, Terese, has been amazing speaking with you.
Thank you for making it so easy. I really appreciate that. And I also do want to say thank you as well for taking up this role of being a media person and mixing in popular culture with storytelling. Because I know that's not hard. That's not easy either.
It's not. It's not. What would you like to end the podcast with? If there was one thing that people watching you or listening to you from all over the world, what would you like to end this on? that one thing that you go like, you know what, this is what I want to tell the world?
It's that creatives need you. Creatives on the continent need you. And so support our stories, watch us, share us. It's the only way that we can continue to elevate the industry and compete on a global scale. Because I want to see everyone Black win, like Issa Rae said. So yeah, that's my last thing.
Great stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. It's been a brilliant episode, as we mentioned. Subscribe to the BlacVolta podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchats, BlacVolta. You can also follow Jambo Spaces.
Jambo.
And where can they find you? Twitter, it's what?
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We're on Jambo Spaces. Like,
Okay.
oh, me.
Okay.
Oh, look at me advertising Jambo. Ohemaa Equia K.
Okay, so she's on Twitter as
Yeah.
Ohemaa
Equia
K.
K. Yeah, not UK. It's
And then on Instagram,
same thing. Yeah. So it's the same thing across like all platforms.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Joey.
Thank you guys, and then we'll catch up on our next episode. Peace out.